buying a home has always been called the safest investment. But in 2025, that might be the biggest financial trap you can fall into. Rising costs, hidden fees, and a collapsing idea of ownership are quietly destroying the American dream. While most people are fighting to buy a house, the wealthy are quietly renting and winning, because they know something the banks don't want you to figure out. Meet Sarah. In 2021, she bought her dream home. 3 bedrooms, a yard, and the pride of ownership everyone talks about. But fast forward to 2025, that dream had become a nightmare. Her mortgage payment doubled due to rising interest rates. Property taxes climbed. Maintenance costs exploded. And her asset, the one everyone said would make her rich, was now worth less than she paid for it. Meanwhile, her friend Jake never bought. He kept renting, but instead of tying up his money in a down payment, he invested it. His savings grew. His cash flow stayed flexible. And when the housing market cooled, he bought properties for half the price, in cash. Sarah didn't do anything wrong, she followed the old rules. But the rules have changed. And what worked for your parents might destroy your financial future today. The first truth you need to face is this: real estate isn't the safe investment it used to be. For decades, people believed that owning a home was the ultimate path to wealth. Renting is throwing money away, they said. But that mindset was built in a different world, one where housing was affordable, interest rates were low, and population growth drove constant demand. That world is gone. Today, buying a home isn't just expensive, it's risky. Prices are inflated far beyond wage growth. The average mortgage rate has doubled since 2020. Maintenance, insurance, and taxes have skyrocketed. You're not buying an asset, you're buying a liability that eats your cash flow for 30 years. The irony? Most homeowners aren't investors. They're debtors, paying interest for decades just to use a house the bank technically owns. And in many cities, renting the same property costs less than half the monthly mortgage. The idea that your home is your greatest investment is outdated propaganda, pushed by banks and builders who profit when you buy. Real wealth today isn't about owning walls. It's about owning freedom. The second truth about homeownership is the part the banks never highlight: the hidden cost. When you buy a house, you're not just paying for bricks and land. You're buying a 30-year subscription to endless expenses. Start with the obvious: interest. On a $400,000 home, with a typical mortgage, you'll pay over $300,000 in interest alone. That's nearly doubling the cost of the property, and that's before taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Then there's depreciation. Paint fades, roofs leak, appliances die. The average homeowner spends 1 to 3% of the home's value every year just to keep it livable. And property taxes? They only go one way, up. You're not buying stability, you're buying a payment plan with no finish line. Meanwhile, renters get blamed for throwing money away, but at least they know their costs up front, and when something breaks, it's not their problem. The sad reality is that most homeowners aren't building equity. They're maintaining debt. They call it ownership, but it's really obligation dressed as success. The system sells the dream and collects the interest while you're living it. Here's the part that shocks most people: the wealthy are renting. That's right. The same people who could buy 10 houses in cash are often choosing not to own at all. Why? Because they understand the difference between assets and anchors. A home might feel like security, but it locks up capital, limits flexibility, and slows growth. The rich prefer liquidity, the ability to move money fast toward better opportunities. When you rent, your housing costs are predictable. When you own, every leak, tax hike, and market dip is your problem. Meanwhile, that same down payment could be earning 8 to 10% a year in index funds, startups, or digital businesses. The rich don't get emotionally attached to walls, they get attached to returns. They know renting isn't throwing money away if your capital is compounding somewhere else. Think of it like this: Would you rather own a house that costs you money every month, or control assets that pay you every month? Ownership used to equal power, now mobility does. While the middle class buys liabilities disguised as dreams, the rich are quietly renting and letting their investments buy the houses for them. The old American dream was simple: go to school, get a job, buy a house, retire. But in 2025, that dream has expired. The new dream isn't about owning, it's about freedom. Flexibility is the new wealth. The ability to move, travel, work remotely, and adapt fast is worth more than any fixed address. The internet has changed everything. You don't need to live where you work. You don't even need to own where you live. The most successful people today treat housing like a subscription. They go where opportunity takes them. Renting gives them agility. Buying locks them down. Here's the harsh truth. Stability used to be power. Now it's risk. The people clinging to forever homes are getting crushed by taxes, inflation, and a market that no longer rewards immobility. Freedom isn't about the square footage you own, it's about the options you control. Every decision that increases your flexibility increases your power. The new American dream isn't the white picket fence, it's the ability to pack your laptop and earn from anywhere. Ownership used to buy peace of mind. Now, mobility does. So if buying a home no longer makes sense, what should you do instead? The answer is simple. Stop trying to own everything and start owning assets that produce cash flow. Instead of tying hundreds of thousands of dollars into a single property that drains you every month, use that money to buy freedom. Invest in things that grow, pay dividends, or generate income. Start with index funds, boring, reliable, and proven. Then add digital assets, online businesses, automated stores, or faceless YouTube channels. These are the new forms of real estate, except they live on the internet and appreciate through attention, not location. If you really want exposure to property, invest through REITs or crowdfunding platforms. You get the benefits of real estate without the headache of mortgages, tenants, or roofs to fix. Rent where you live, own where it pays. That's the new formula for financial freedom. Don't chase the illusion of ownership, chase control. Because ownership ties you down. Control sets you free. The wealthy don't brag about owning property. They brag about owning time. And that's the one asset you can't finance. So now you see the truth. The dream of homeownership isn't freedom, it's a financial illusion. The system was never designed to make you rich. It was designed to keep you paying. For decades it worked perfectly. But in 2025, the cracks are showing. The question is, will you keep following the old playbook, or will you start writing your own? Because the game has changed, and those who cling to tradition are being left behind. Renting isn't failure, it's strategy. And the people who understand that are quietly building real wealth, not through bricks and debt, but through cash flow and flexibility. And in a second, I'll show you how to design a portfolio that pays you more each month than any mortgage ever could, without owning a single house. Here's the truth. The path to financial freedom has changed forever. The old formula, work, save, buy a house, doesn't work in an economy built on inflation, debt, and automation. You don't need to own a home to win. You need to own assets that work for you. Real freedom doesn't come from property, it comes from cash flow. The people who are thriving in 2025 aren't the ones with the biggest houses. They're the ones with the smallest overhead and the highest flexibility. Stop asking, when can I afford to buy a house? And start asking, when will my assets afford one for me? Because when your investments pay for your lifestyle, that's real ownership. The goal isn't to avoid real estate, it's to approach it like the wealthy do, strategically, not emotionally. Buy only when it multiplies your income, not when it satisfies your ego. And here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Your home shouldn't be your biggest investment, you should be. Invest in knowledge, systems, and freedom. Because the moment you stop chasing status and start chasing scalability, your financial life transforms. So before you sign that 30-year mortgage, remember this: you don't need to own walls to build wealth. You need to own your time. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe right now, because in the next one, I'll show you how to create an investment portfolio that pays you monthly cash flow, even if you're starting from zero. The new dream isn't homeownership. It's freedom ownership.